the inflation figures, the WPI inflation today, the wholesale price index inflation, which is driven by food items, by fuel, by other commodities as well. Those numbers today are at over 15%. And the data is a bit conflicting on this. Some estimates say it's the highest in 30 years. Others are saying that it's the highest since 2005. But it's high. Now, this is double-digit inflation now for 13 consecutive months. That is preceding the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but certainly in the midst of the pandemic. What do we attribute that to for us here in India?
Well, I think that we had a major kind of our supply chains, and the supply chains everywhere in the world have already been disrupted heavily. I mean, I think one of the stories that is impacting us is also China. I think China is right now in the middle of its multiple postponed crises due to COVID, and in some ways, and that's created a huge number of supply chain issues. And those supply chain issues are going to be, we buy lots of things from China. It's one of our biggest trading partners. And so it's not going to be, as the Chinese economy finds it harder to push out lots and lots of commodities, those commodities become scarce. So there's nothing particularly, again, I go back to saying that we are still living through COVID plus Ukraine. And I don't think that we really know what's happening. I think the thing that's striking more, I would say, is what's happening in the West, which is, I think, a real realignment of political forces. I think the young are unprepared to work, and we see labor force participation rates which are very low, and I think that's actually and unemployment rates therefore very low as well, because anybody who wants a job can get a job. So I do think that that's what's striking in this moment, is that that's something else that we didn't expect, but that's maybe the one thing that plus China's I think many missteps in handling COVID. I think all of that's going to is playing through this story as well.
Just coming back to the comparison with China, as you said that, the disruptions there, their harsh lockdowns, the way they're dealing with COVID has made India look, much better to the rest of the world. But I think India had also hoped that you would have, with these supply chain disruptions, more manufacturing actually moving to India. Do you think that has happened with a pace that we would be happy at? Because it seems a lot of companies are actually moving to Vietnam and other parts of Southeast Asia, not really coming to India in the way that they should. Why do you think that is the case? Are we still, we're talking about ease of doing business, but is there a certain non-ease? Is there a level of protectionism that's crept in that's holding us back?
I think there's some protectionism more. I think there's a general sense in which we are still perceived as being, more controlling than some of these economies. And I don't do business. I don't run a business. I can't tell you the truth on the ground, but talking to people, I get a sense that, when it actually comes down to doing something very specific, then it's actually not that easy. I hear that from people. So I'm not about to certify that, since I don't see it on one way or the other, but I think there's a little bit of that. But also I think it's over optimistic. I think just the supply chains are so delicate objects that you shift them very slowly. I've said this before. I think the Chinese, if the Chinese currency goes down a bit more, people will have second thoughts. I really do think that we shouldn't assume that there'll be a systematic and quick move away from China, despite, I think, China doing all kinds of stupid things. I think it's really, supply chains take a long time to build. I've written about this, about how, reputations have to be built, and you have to be reliable, and you have to, so it takes a long time. And even if we want to get there, I think that the government is actually serious about it, but I do think that it won't happen in a hurry. I think Vietnam has done better for a while. This is not it's not just right now. It's been a while since Vietnam has been good at attracting manufacturing. Bangladesh has done well on some of those as well. So I do think that it's going to be some time before we see big effects.